In this lecture, I will talk about two-dimensional transient heat conduction. Now note that the governing equation that we are trying to solve will be of this type. We'll have the time rate of change of temperature is alpha times d2t dx square plus d2t dy square, and we will be typically solving this over some two-dimensional body where I can define the coordinate system in a certain way and with some given boundary conditions. Now caution must be exercised when we are attempting to solve this equation using previously developed finite difference methods. So to show you what I mean by this caution, let's say we use the explicit method. Now if we use the explicit method, we can difference this equation, we can difference this governing equation in the following manner. We can write Tij n plus 1 minus Tij n by delta t would be alpha times Ti plus 1 j at n minus 2 Tij plus Ti minus 1 j by delta x square plus Tij plus 1 at n minus 2 Tij at n plus Tij minus 1 by delta y square. We can still use the von Neumann stability analysis, and the way we can do the von Neumann stability analysis of this equation is if we assume that the error epsilon I j n. Now note that because there are two coordinates in this problem, not just one, you could write this as Vn into e to the power I and then k dot r, where r becomes the position vector. So this could be written as Vn e to the power I, then we can write as kx I delta x plus ky j delta y. And what I will also use is that I will use a notation that kx delta x is theta x and ky delta y is theta y. Anyhow, so using this and using the fact that we'll have these two ratios, non-dimensional numbers coming in, alpha delta t by delta x square, which I'm going to call as rx, and alpha delta t by delta y square, which I'm going to call as ry. So you can prove, actually, if you plug this in, plug these expressions into this equation, and using the mathematical treatment by cancelling out certain terms, you can actually prove that the following stability criterion emerges. We'll have rx sine square theta x by 2 plus ry sine square theta y by 2 is less than 1 by 2 for stability. This is for stability, and we also know that the maximum value of sine square theta x by 2 or sine square theta y by 2 will be 1. So since these two numbers, sine square theta x by 2 is less than equal to 1 and sine square theta y by 2 is also less than equal to 1, clearly the criterion for stability could be written as rx plus ry is less than equal to 1 by 2. So that would be the stability criterion in a two-dimensional explicit formulation. Further, if you note that there's a special case that we can bring in here. The case is when delta x and delta y are equal. So in the special case, if delta x is equal to delta y, this would mean that Rx is equal to Ry. So let me say this is, in this case it's R. Then clearly R should be less than or equal to 1 by 4. If I plug in R here, I'll get R plus R, which is 2R. 2R is less than or equal to 1 by 2, and so R is less than or equal to 1 by 4. Now what do we learn from this? What we find out is that the stability criterion is twice as restrictive as compared to 1D. So this stability criterion is twice as restrictive as it was in the 1D problem. Now when we apply the Crank-Nicolson scheme for this two-dimensional problem, so let's also look at Crank-Nicolson scheme. Crank-Nicolson will mean that I would have to difference the right hand side as half contribution taken each from time step n and half from n plus 1. So let me say I would write this as, in a compact notation, as alpha by 2 delta hat x square plus delta hat y square over ti j n plus 1 plus ti j n, where, let me explain what these operators are and why I have written this way. Delta x hat square over ti j n would actually be ti plus 1 j at n minus 2 ti j at n plus ti minus 1 j at n by delta x square, and delta y hat square ti j at n would be ti j plus 1 at n minus 2 ti j n plus ti j minus 1 at n by delta y square. So basically delta x hat square and delta y hat square are essentially operators which say that if you have a variable number ti j n, then this becomes sort of like a central differencing operator for the second derivative. So this is the operation. This is the operator that I can write for a compact notation for my right hand side in the 2D transient heat conduction case. Now note that what it also means is if I had n plus 1 here, then this would become n plus 1, this would be n plus 1, and this would be n plus 1, and this n plus 1 would also mean this is n plus 1, n plus 1. So this is just a notation that I'm going to adopt to simplify the long or tedious expressions that I'm going to write now. Further, what I will also do is, because I see that these delta x square and delta y square would actually hang around throughout my derivation, what I would also do is I could write delta x hat square ti j n as delta x square ti j n by delta x square, and I would write delta y hat square ti j at n to be same way as delta y square ti j n by delta y square. This is just purely for writing convenience, nothing else. Now the Crank-Nicolson scheme in the two-dimensional case is unconditionally stable. So if we solve this equation, we will see that this is unconditionally stable. So Crank-Nicolson is unconditionally stable. However, the issue here is, now that we're solving a 2D problem, we will actually have a pentadiagonal system of equations. So that is one advantage, I would say. This, if I want to say this is an advantage. The disadvantage is that the system of equations is of a pentadiagonal form. And hence we cannot use direct methods such as TDMA, but rather we would rely on iterative solutions or iterative solution process. So now, to avoid this iterative solution process, a solution method was proposed by Peaceman and Rashford. This was in 1955, and this is in many ways a variant of ADI. And the method is it's a two-step method which avoids need for iterations for the two-dimensional problem. And the way it works is that we divide our solution process into two steps. Step 1 is that we march the temperature field only half a time step. So we would say Tij at n plus half minus Tij at n by delta T by 2 is alpha, let's say del hat x square Tij n plus half plus del y hat square Tij at n. Now by marching in half a time step, we are only changing in the first step, or we are only computing Tij at n plus half from the x derivatives. The y derivatives are assumed to have temperatures from the last iteration or the last time step. In the same way, step 2 now involves marching again in half a time step, but now using a differencing on the, or using unknown temperatures on the second y derivative. So we will say Tij n plus 1 minus Tij n plus half by delta T by 2 is alpha del hat x square del hat square over x Tij n plus half minus plus del hat y square Tij n plus 1. So what have we achieved now? By doing this, we have sort of split the calculation process. So this is an example of splitting of the calculation process, and by splitting we are now going to solve only tridiagonal system of linear equations for each of the two steps. So the first step will have tridiagonal system in x, the second step will have tridiagonal system in y. So we don't need to work on, or we don't need to worry about iterative process. This ADI method also has an accuracy or a truncation error of order delta t square, delta x square and delta y square. Further, if you do a stability analysis on this problem, you will see that the amplification factor G comes out to be 1 minus Rx, 1 minus cosine theta, 1 minus Ry, 1 minus cosine theta divided by 1 plus Rx, 1 minus cosine theta, 1 plus Ry, 1 minus cosine theta. Now note that the denominator will always be more than the numerator, and so this scheme is unconditionally stable. So this is unconditionally stable. Further, this variant can also be adopted for a three-dimensional problem. So we have so far looked at only two-dimensional heat conduction. In three-dimensional problems, what we'll do is we will basically have calculation being done in 1/3 steps for each of the directions. So we'll first start with, for instance, we start at time step n, we will go to n plus 1 by 3, where we'll have del hat square x at n plus 1 by 3, and del hat y and del hat z squares will be at n. The second step will actually be n plus 2 by 3, and we will have del hat y square at n plus 2 by 3, and then we'll have del hat. The third step will be that we'll go to n plus 1, and the z derivative, which will be del hat y square, will be at n plus 1. So this can be easily applied in 3D, can be extended to 3D problems, except that the time stepping will have to be n plus 1 by 3, n plus 2 by 3, and n plus 1, and the order of the method there suffers. So the truncation error in 3D becomes order delta t, delta x square, delta y square, delta z square. Now, because the order of accuracy here suffers, it reduces to delta t as compared to the 2D problem. A modified ADI which has order delta t square accuracy was proposed, and that scheme was also unconditionally stable. This scheme is what is called as approximate factorization. So this scheme will have an order delta t square accuracy and delta x square, delta y square, and delta z square in space, and it would also be unconditionally stable. So what I'll do is, although this scheme is meant for 3D, I will give you a demonstration on 2D, and that will actually give you an idea on how this can be extended to 3D problems. So let's consider, or let's define delta tijn as a new variable, which is the difference between tijn plus 1 minus tijn, where I note that typically I would have tijn stored in my memory, or in the memory of my computer, and then this is what I want to calculate. But instead of solving this, I would rather solve for delta tij. So this becomes a new variable that I'm going to solve in my matrix system. Now if I substitute this expression, this number, into the Crank-Nicolson scheme, note that the Crank-Nicolson scheme is here, right? It is here. So I would now substitute tij n plus 1 to be delta tij n plus tijn. So this will become delta tij n plus 2 times tij n. So let's do this. So we substitute this into the Crank-Nicolson scheme for 2D for now. I'm going to show you for 2D only. 3D I'll show you later on how this can be worked out in a few steps itself. So we'll have delta tij, and I'm going to drop this superscript n because that is not very important here now. So if you notice the left hand side of the Crank-Nicolson scheme, we had tij n plus 1 minus tij n, which is actually delta tij. So we'll have delta tij on the left hand side. This is equal to alpha delta t by 2. We'll have del x square operated over delta tij by delta x square plus del y square by delta y square delta tij plus 2 del x square by delta x square over tij n plus 2 del y square delta y square tij n. So please make sure that you arrange the equation and you should get this. Now keep noting that this is actually the unknown value, and which is also here on the left hand side. Now I can rearrange. Rearrange would mean that I take all the unknowns on one side and keep the knowns on the other side. So we'll get 1 minus rx square by 2 del x square minus ry square by 2. Sorry, this should be rx and ry del y square into delta tij ij. So how did I get this? I'm going to take this term here. So we'll have alpha delta t by 2 delta x square, which is actually rx by 2, into the operator del x square, and then we'll have from the second term alpha delta t by delta y square, which is ry by 2 into del y square, that goes on the left hand side. This should be equal to rx del x square plus ry del y square over tij n, where on the right hand side I have used the property that there's a 2 here and there's a 2 that cancels, and this 2 also cancels with this. So just to remind you, rx is alpha delta t by delta x square and ry is alpha delta t by delta y square. Now the method was called approximate factorization. So let me tell you why we call it approximate factorization. What we are going to do is that we are going to factor or write this left hand side as an approximate factor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this as 1 minus rx by 2 del x square minus ry by 2 del y square. I'm going to write this approximately as 1 minus rx by 2 del x square times 1 minus ry by 2 del y square, where I note that this is valid if the product rx into ry is much less than 1, and that the change in the temperature is small. Because note that when you open this parenthesis out, the last term you will get, which would be a new term on the right hand side, would be rx into ry by 4 del x square del y square, and that has to be operated over delta tij. So clearly we are saying that this term itself is small, and then also the operators on the temperature are small. Okay, so this is small and del x square del y square is small. So if this is small, then this becomes reasonable, and now I can write the final form of my equation that I have to solve, which would be 1 minus rx square del x square, rx by 2 del x square, 1 minus ry by 2 del y square over delta tij is rx delta x square plus ry delta I square tij at n. Now we'll solve this equation in 2 steps. Step 1 will be the following. I could write this equation as 1 minus rx by 2 del x square over delta tij star, where delta tij star becomes a dummy variable, an intermediate value. This is equal to rx del x square plus ry del y square over tijn. So this is an intermediate value in my solution, not the final value that I need. Step 2 will be that I will use this intermediate value to calculate the final temperature. So we will say 1 minus ry by 2 del y square delta tij, which is my actual change, is delta tij star. You can clearly see that I've combined. This equation is actually split into these two, because if I put delta tij star as this number here, I recover the original equation. So this becomes the second step. Now by doing so, what have I achieved? I have ensured that the right hand side is completely known, because it's in terms of temperature at n, and so we can easily solve this function, which is an unknown value, in terms of a TDMA type system. And similarly here on the second step, I will now have this as known, because I would have solved this equation, and so this becomes again a TDMA like system. Finally, once I have delta tij, I can write that the new temperature Tijn plus 1 is Tijn plus delta Tij, and that completes the calculation for one time step. Clearly, the same idea can also be applied in 3D, and let me show you very quickly how we'll solve it in 3D using this Crank-Nicolson scheme. So step 1, so in 3D we'll have step 1 being 1 minus Rx by 2 del x square delta Tijk star to be Rx delta x square plus Ry delta y square plus Rz delta z square Tij at n, and I should also put a third index k. Step 2 will be now 1 minus Ry by 2 del y square delta Tijk, let's say 2 stars to indicate a new dummy variable, will be delta Tijk star and step 3 would be 1 minus Rz delta z square by 2 delta Tijk to be delta Tijk double star. So this approximate factorization method can become a very convenient tool for solving 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional heat conduction problems, transient heat conduction in that sense, using a Crank-Nicolson scheme which is ordered delta or a second order in time and space, and also unconditionally stable. The last scheme that I want to discuss is called as a very interesting scheme. It's called as hopscotch method, and it's only applicable for 2D. This is an explicit scheme, and that's why it becomes very attractive, and the reason I'm covering it here, because remember, explicit schemes are always easiest to solve. But in spite of being explicit, this is unconditionally stable, and the calculation process, as I will show, will involve 2 sweeps through the mesh. So let's say we are solving a problem in 2D, as I said. Let's say we have a problem of this type. Okay, let me also make a mesh to illustrate what we are going to do. And the boundary lines will also be included. Say this is the domain that we are going to work with. The intersection of the grid lines, which are dotted lines, are the grid points. Let me label the grid points in a certain way. Okay, so let me say the numbering is from here. Here j is 1, I is 1, and we are saying I goes here and j goes there. Okay, so the numbering would mean this is j1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This will be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I can always get certain addresses. And let me put some symbols here to denote something that I'm going to do very soon. So I will denote locations at this instance, some locations by circles. Okay, some by circles, as I'm doing here. Some by circles, so we have some of these circles here. And I'm going to label other locations by a cross. So So as I said, this method works on 2 sweeps. So now let me explain what I've done in this diagram here, in this schematic. So the first sweep will be such that we will calculate Tij at n plus 1 time instance at grid points where the number I plus j plus n is even, only at these grid points. Now when I calculate Tij at Tij at n plus 1, I would be saying Tij n plus 1 minus Tij at n by delta t is equal to alpha del hat x square Tij n plus del hat square Tij at n. So note that the right hand side is explicit, which is what I promised you earlier, and I'm only going to calculate Tij at n plus 1 at location where I plus j plus n is even. So this right hand side is an explicit form. Now why did I label these symbols here? So let me say that this is, we're looking at n0. That is, we're starting from an initial condition. Now at n0, and as I numbered here, I plus j plus n is even at places where I have circles, right? So we have circles here. In this condition are locations where I plus j plus n is an even number, and crosses are where I plus j plus n is an odd number at this time instance. So I'll only calculate temperature at these circles by using an explicit differencing on for the space derivative. So we will have temperature at these points, right? Only at the circles. Please do notice that. In the second sweep, what I'll do, now that we have temperatures at these circles, I will calculate Tij at n plus 1 at grid points where I plus j plus n is odd, and I will calculate it in a similar manner, except the right hand side now will actually be at n plus 1. So what I'll do is, I will say Tij n plus 1 minus Tij at n by delta t is alpha del hat x square Tij n plus 1 plus del hat y square Tij n plus 1. So this will be the second sweep. Now if you observe, and I'm sure some of you will have this question, you will say this appears to be implicit because we are solving for Tij at n plus 1, and this appears to be an explicit function of Tij at n plus 1. But as I'll show you now in 1 second, no simultaneous equations or algebraic equations need to be solved, and this can be easily obtained by just multiplying both sides by delta t and adding Tijn. This is because if you look at delta x square Tij at, let's say, n plus 1, which is what I want to calculate on the right hand side, this would be Ti plus 1 j n plus 1 minus 2 Tij n plus 1 plus Ti minus 1 j at n plus 1 by delta x square. Now note that if I plus j plus n is odd, which is what we are doing in the second step, we are calculating only when I plus j plus n is odd, which this would mean that I plus j plus n plus minus 1 should be even. Now why did I say plus minus 1 here? I said this because this, if you look at these numbers now, right? If you look at the data which we had from the first time step, from the first sweep rather. In the first sweep, we calculated numbers at I plus j plus n, which were even. So at n plus 1, at the time step n plus 1, when we have come here, I already have these Tijs, which would have been computed at these circles. So this data, or rather this data here, right, this data is already available. It's already computed in step 1. So all I need to now do is calculate this at locations where the number is odd. So note that in this case, we will now be working in the step 2. We'll land up at these locations where we didn't have the data originally. So this scheme uses this idea that the points corresponding to this condition are already computed in step 1. So this is already computed in, I should say, sweep 1. Further, this algorithm, even though it is unconditionally stable, but because it's explicit, this overall algorithm has a truncation error of order delta t, delta x square, delta y square, and this is not easily, or in fact there is no extension of this model or this method for 3-dimensional problems. So this is the hopscotch method, which sort of completes our discussion on transient heat conduction problems. From the next lecture, we look at convection diffusion problems in finite difference methods.